Hey everyone, Ben Coomber Radio, episode 59. Today's show is upside down. I am talking to a lady in Australia. Now this lady, I did my first ever PT qualification with back in the day, oh God, when I was probably like 19, 20, no idea. In sunny Eastbourne in the UK, which was part of the Czech Institute course. And we still keep in touch today. And I thought, today would be a perfect time to catch up and talk about female fat loss and performance and everything sexy about female training and food. Rachel Guy, aka the Athletic Fox, how you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, our sound is now really good. I will warn people now
Awesome.
that are listening, there might be a slight sound delay, but the banter won't be as hot because you're a Welsh/Australian/hybrid anyway, so your banter's probably awful anyway.
Well, I'm actually still very Welsh at heart. You can take a girl out of Wales, but you can't take Wales out of a girl.
Oh, good girl. Although when we started the call, you definitely sounded more Australian, so I think I've already brought out your roots in you.
You probably have. You know, it's funny, you know, when you talk to Americans and you end up with a slight American twang. Well, I just hope that I don't sound very English or, you know, definitely I don't want to sound English at the end of this call.
But by you bringing up that point, I'm going to make sure I never do a call with someone in Texas, because I would hate to walk around for a week with a Texas twang.
I know, actually, it's funny. One of the boys who works at my gym, he's from Texas, so I try not to speak to him too much. No, I'm kidding. He's a good friend of mine.
Rachel,
sorry,
why
Dan,
don't
if
you
you're
talk
listening.
to me? You're from Texas. So we've just been talking about the weather, because that's what British people do.
Yes, it is. It's true. See, I'm going back to my roots already. I'm talking about the weather. It's terrible.
It's drizzly and rainy here in the UK as we talk, and it's drizzly and rainy where you are as well.
Well, look, I have to say I did leave sunny Sydney, and unfortunately it has been very, very hot, and we've had some really nasty bushfires around Sydney, which has been very sad. But you know, there has been a slight turn in the weather, and I'm actually down in Melbourne at the moment. I've been doing a shoot today, and the weather down here has been absolutely horrific. It's pouring down with rain. It's freezing cold, so it's like stepping out of what was like a desert environment in Sydney. Flying down to Melbourne, so it's been a bit of a shock to the system.
Nice. Well, that'll please everyone in the UK, because we always weather. And talking of bikini shoots, yeah, I've got one later today. Weird.
Sorry.
But you know, whatever. We'll skip over that.
Well, are you wearing your mankini?
Underneath, obviously, I'm still wearing my pajamas because it's 7 o'clock in the morning, and I don't get changed till I have to walk the dog. So the dog walk hasn't happened yet, so I'm still in my pajamas. You're lucky I'm not in my crocodile onesie. Okay. Look, one day I'll do the podcast in my crocodile onesie, I'll tell people.
Do it.
So
I'll wear a kangaroo onesie.
Oh, brilliant. What would win in a fight, a kangaroo or a crocodile?
Oh.
See, the problem is...
I don't know, I'd have to weigh that one up, because kangaroos can punch and I'm sure they can kick pretty hard. They've got some pretty mean glute muscles on them. And they can run pretty fast and they can jump high, although crocodiles can also run fast and they can swim, and obviously they've got those, like, you know, those snappy jaws.
Yeah. It's a good debate to have. We've actually got an animal-related fight question in at the end from Mark Johnson. He'll be really pleased.
I did see that. We can get that at the end.
I used to do that all the time as a kid. What would win, a rabbit with a knife or a hare with a machine gun underwater? And you'd sit there as kids and you'd be like, and then you'd spend like 10 minutes debating the warrants of having like an Uzi and being a hare, and it's hilarious.
Well, it certainly gets out your creative side, doesn't it? Yeah,
so there's another game for the parents out there with their kids. So let's find out who Rachel Guy is. Who is Rachel Guy?
Well, I would say I'm not particularly young anymore, but you know, I'm a young Welsh girl who's found herself down under on the other side of the world, a million miles from home, and sometimes I wonder how I got here. The long and the short of it is that I started I started going to personal training sessions with my dad actually when I was about 13 or 14, and I learned a lot from various different trainers that he had. He used to sort of go to this gym, and he used to get given various different trainers, and they used to specialize in different things. So sometimes he'd do sort of more of a bodybuilding type training session. Sometimes he'd do more of a strongman type training session. Other times it would be more sort of functional, like, you know, I have to say we never actually had Bosu balls back in the day. But, you know, we'd certainly be slamming med balls and doing sprints with a sled. And, you know, the prowler was still in back when I was 14. So I started this stuff, you know, really from a very young age. So I'm very grateful to have done that. And then I learned really through injury. I dislocated my shoulders several times, actually playing golf. Just don't tell anyone it was playing golf. It's not a very tough sport, is it?
That's not cool.
No, I then discovered what hypermobility was. So realized that all of my joints were very floppy. So again, in an effort to try and strengthen myself up and keep myself together, that's where I really started lifting weights. And it just took off. And I had no idea really what I was doing in the gym. I'd just go in and copy what the guy next to me was doing. And obviously that included curling in a squat rack. Yes, I've done that. You know, sort of quarter squats. And then I got myself a personal trainer. And it sort of grew from there really. By the time I went off to university, I studied physiotherapy. So I got to sort of learn a lot about the body then. But the truth is, like, my heart was always lying in strength conditioning. And through university, I did various internships with physios, mostly at sort of rugby clubs or contact sports, because that's where my interests lie. And I realized probably when I was about 20 to 21 that the majority of the injuries that were coming through were from a lack of conditioning or a lack of strength or incorrect strength training techniques. So I spent more and more time with the strength coaches, and I realized that, you know, this is what I wanted to be doing. Now, given at the time I was 21 years old, I was probably weighed about 50 kilos. You know, how is a small 50 kilo blonde chick going to get into strength conditioning? So I decided to just take some time out. I left my job as a NHS physiotherapist working in the intensive care unit. And I took some time out and I spent 6 months back home in the UK, basically just training, lifting weights and getting myself healthy again. I kind of dug myself into a bit of a ditch through university. And, you know, as we all do, we partied hard and drank way too much and probably underate. And all I really did was cardio. So yeah, I became a bit of a cardio queen as well. So it was time to put some muscle on. And then I had the chance to come over to Australia. As you know, Ben, everyone's our age, like, you know, everyone goes to Australia backpacking and traveling. And I never really had a chance to do that, having gone straight from school, straight to university, and then straight into work. So I decided that, like, this was now my time. And me being me, I decided that I couldn't possibly do it backpacking. So I decided to roll in a personal training course. So next thing I know, I'm out here having spent 3 months, now a fully qualified trainer. Went back home, sold my car, and told my parents that I was coming back. So the rest, as they say, is history. I went and I did postgrad studies at University of Sydney in sport and exercise science, and somehow have managed to build myself my dream job. So that's what I do. I'm, as cliche as it sounds, I'm living my dream. It's bloody hard work, but you know, I finally got there.
Hey, look, so a little point for everyone right now. Unfortunately, our dreams don't fall on our lap.
No, you've got to work damn hard for it.
You've got to work for it, and don't get me wrong, when they happen, you can kind of go into a bit of cruise mode and enjoy it and find the balance. But, you know, there's always a couple of years of pulling your finger out and grafting. Jesus.
Absolutely, a graft, like hard graft and hard grind, and that goes for anything that you do in life, you know. Like, Ben, I met you when I was 20. Well, look, I might have been just 22, and I actually met you in my 6-month phase where I just finished working as a physio, and that was when I was going through my phase of trying to put on some muscle and get healthy again. And that's when I first enrolled in Check Exercise Coach, and I stay in touch with John Boskill, who was our teacher on that day, or on that course. Obviously yourself, and actually a few others as well. And definitely, this is basically what I want to get across today: is a lot of people, especially females nowadays, in terms of body composition and training, are trying to fly before they can even crawl, yet alone walk, run, jump, etc. By that, what I mean is I get so many girls coming to me nowadays saying, oh, I want to do a bikini show. And I say, okay, have you ever even lifted weights before? No, but I will still want to do a bikini show, and I want to do one in 16 weeks' time. That I actually won't prep a girl for a show if she wants to do it in 16 weeks. I do prep very few bikini girls, but they do have to meet certain criteria before I will put them into show prep. So I guess what I'm getting at, you've got to do the hard work, you've got to do the grind before you're ready sort of to get to that next level and lay down the foundation factors. And that's definitely something that I learned in that first personal training course that we did, was laying down sort of foundation factors, because otherwise, look, you can't fire a cannon from a canoe. So at some point, something is going to have to give.
Nice, good analogy. I was doing some external training. There's a company in the UK called ProFit, and I was doing some of their kind of extra training so I had a room full of PTs. And, one of the things that I implored is that as a personal trainer or a coach, you're very, if someone walks through the door and says, Rachel, I want to train with you 5 days a week, I'm super motivated. As a trainer, you usually stand there and rub your hands together and go, God, brilliant. Like 5 days a week, that's X amount of pounds a month. Oh, brilliant. But as coaches, are we actually standing there and said, actually, is this person ready to exercise? Can their central nervous system handle it? Can their joints handle it? Do they even have a base level of conditioning? Like, could they run up the road for 5 minutes? Could they walk up a hill without getting panting out of breath? And if they can't, you can't train 5 days a week.
Exactly. Okay, and this is where I'll start introducing. Okay, I know cardio is going to be a big subject for us to talk about today, but this is where I'll introduce cardio and say that, you know what, some of my girls, and look, the truth is I train a lot of guys as well, but we'll keep today's podcast just for girls. There are girls who I do have doing cardio for various different reasons. We'll take somebody like that who wants to basically do, one of these life transformations. And I do have some, I have had some very big girls come through. Now, if you think that I'm going to take one of those girls and absolutely smash them in the gym 5 days a week to try and get a result quicker, I would be doing them and myself a disservice. There's definitely a case there for somebody's overall conditioning to be improved just through walking. I will get these girls out walking, and it's certainly not like training walking, if you like. It's just going out for a walk, get time on your feet, get your joints used to moving, get your heart used to moving, like that base level of conditioning that we should already have. Get that up to par and up to scratch before you start doing interval training. Because the truth is, if you put somebody who's totally deconditioned on a spin bike or on a rower, and you try and get them doing interval training, they're not going to be able to work hard enough to elicit the response that they need, and B, they're going to hate it and they're going to leave and they're going to quit. And then the truth is that women have to have fun training. We have to make training fun for them, and we have to make it so that they see results very quickly, because otherwise they quit.
Definitely. So let me segue into a question that I put a shout out on Facebook. Several people chopped in. This is related. So Lou Crawshaw said, what kind of cardio would you do, or if you do any already, and how would you go about it? I'm training for muscle gains myself, but I miss cardio like hell. I just like the feeling of being out of breath.
There's no reason why you should be leaving cardio of your program. I think look, let's start here. It totally depends on what you're training for. So myself personally, I always have cardio in my training. And let's say that high intensity interval training is cardio. So if that's in your program, you are doing some form of cardio. Now, I also actually have some long, slow duration stuff in my program, just purely because I like it. And for me, it's a bit of time out and time to listen to podcasts and time to chill. So, once a week, I will go on a slightly longer run. Whether that be just even if it's just 5Ks, or I'll go on a walk with my other half, and that's still cardio. Am I going to cut that out of my program because I'm afraid of losing muscle? Absolutely not. When we talk about the no cardio rule, generally speaking, that's come from a place where we see a lot of cardio and fitness bunnies on a treadmill or on a cross trainer every single day, day in, day out, doing hours of cardio at a time, and their body shape doesn't change. That's a waste of time. But when we're talking about useful sorts of cardio, I would certainly recommend high intensity interval training. I'm a massive fan of that. I'm a massive fan of kickboxing and mixed martial arts. Massive fan of strongman training. Anything to do with, I've got a love-hate relationship with the prowler, sleds. Definitely, like, boxing classes are awesome. Like, all these are different forms of cardio, and that's what's important for girls to realize, is that cardio isn't just the traditional getting on a treadmill or getting on a cross trainer. It's important to get out and move. It's important to run, to jump, to sprint. And the truth is as well, and this is where we go back again to that foundation level of conditioning and basic level of training, where sprinting, I think I made a Facebook post about this a couple of months ago, about sprinting and how hard it is on your body. Now, so every single week I see an article that says, oh, you've got to do sprint training for your intervals. Well, a lot of people aren't actually conditioned to sprint train. You know what it's like when you've had an extended layoff period, say we've been on holiday and you put on a couple of kilos, and the first thing you do is like, oh shit, I better sort of introduce some sprint training back into my program. The first session that you go out, that you wake up the following morning, you feel like you've been hit by a truck. Your quads are sore, your glutes are sore, hamstrings are sore, your calves are sore, even your shoulders are sore, your chest is sore, your abs are sore, your back is sore. Everything hurts. So the truth is, you do have to build a base and a foundation to be able to get up to there and perform at that level. So do I introduce cardio? Yes, I do. What I don't do is introduce a lot of long, slow duration cardio. There are two occasions where I introduce long, slow duration cardio. The first one would be, as an example, where I've used myself. For me, sometimes I go out for a walk, or I go out for a very light run. It's probably once, maximum twice a week. And for me, that's usually sort of my form of meditation. It's my time. It's time out. It's time for me to catch up with myself, catch up on podcasts. And the second time would be if I had somebody who was prepping for a show, and in the last probably 2, maybe 3 weeks, then I would start introducing some long, slow duration cardio, and it would be no more than 45 minutes a day. And I think actually, I think I was chatting to Phil learning about this. We've got very similar sort of thoughts on that.
Yeah, I'm the same. I don't really want to use cardio before the last 4 weeks of a show. Yeah. Overall stress load, trying to hang on to as much as muscle as possible. It's going to take away potentially time that you're going to hit the weights, because you can only recover from so much. And really, it's one of those tricks that you save in the book. You're like, do you know what? We need a little bit more. We need a little boost. Let's have a couple of morning sessions. Sure. Brilliant. Doing that 16 weeks out, that's my pet peeve with some of these contest prep coaches. It's like, right, 16 weeks out, all the tools get thrown at that individual, and you're like, we don't need to do that. What happens when you hit a plateau? You're fucked. You've got nowhere to go. Yeah.
It's so bad. Like, I think Lane Norton's doing an awesome job of really highlighting this. Like, he's, there's a lot of good coaches out there highlighting it, but I think Lane's been able to really, really get on top of that, and really highlight that some of these big teams in America, and the cookie cutter programs that they're put on, and that they have to do 2 hours or more of cardio a day. I mean, who bloody hell has 2 hours in their day to be able to do cardio? I certainly don't.
Well, that's the thing. People end up sacrificing sleep a lot of the time. They're up at 5. then they're in bed at 11, half 11, and then you can't recover, and then you're chronically stressed, and then, hello, just compounding more problems.
Exactly. So, yes, I do have cardio in my programming. My girls do cardio. There is very little long slow duration cardio, and when there is long slow duration cardio, it's mainly for fun only.
Okay, so let's stay on the training topic. I've got more questions.
Ooh, my favourite.
Andy Ellis says, can't wait to listen to the show. Being a male coach and nutritionist, it's hard to get females to lift weight, squat, press, even after explaining the benefits, showing examples such as Rachel and past clients that I've had. How did Rachel get into lifting? Oh, we've covered that. How would she suggest I approach women scared of getting muscular?
I get asked, I get asked this a lot, and I threw together like a silly 10-minute YouTube video and with a mind map on it. It had some terrible spelling mistakes. I looked so stupid. Anyway, I can't pull it down now because it's had over 70,000 views. So apparently this is a very popular subject. What I would suggest is this. A lot of male coaches try and get try and impose their ideas and their thoughts onto their girls. And I'm not blaming them, but from a female's mentality, we don't want to be big. And I'll say that now. I mean, there are times where I've said to my trainer, like, I don't want to put on any more muscle. And what needs to happen first is you need to get fat off these girls. And it is a hard one because I know what they're trying to say. What they're trying to say is they don't want to look chunky. For me, I always felt like I wanted to be harder and tighter in my muscle, and that's why I started lifting. I don't really know what to suggest, to be honest, because every case is different, and it is such a, I'll try and be as helpful as I can here, but really it is down to the individual client, and you need to find what makes them tick. That is the most important thing, and it is also a case of give them what they want and show them what they need. That is the most important thing that you can do for the client. So it may be a case of bringing them in slowly. So you start by doing things like, okay, so you want this chick to do barbell back squats. And that she's got to lift, she's going to lift some pretty heavy loads. But you start them off, and you might start them in a circuit of a goblet squatting into some form of assisted chin-up or lat pull-down, into some more hip-dominant stuff, into some form of a push. And you do that in a circuit. That gets them sweating and out of breath. So the female thinks they're doing cardio, but they're actually weight training. The second thing you can do in that circuit is use tempo. So you will get time and attention in those muscle groups. And the third thing is that the girl isn't going to get bored. She's going to have fun doing it. And that's where they start to learn to love weight training. That would be one method. Another method would be to actually do a strength training session and then do some form of a cardio blast, if you like it, at the end, whether they do, a Tabata style med ball slamming session, or that you get them on the ropes, or you get them pushing a prowler. So again, they think they're having their fat burning sort of phase at the end there. But really, as we know, the most important thing is building muscle. So that would be another suggestion. The other thing would be to realize that, yes, these girls just need educating. That's it. It's just education. And so the coaches are doing a really good job by, showing examples of females who lift. The other thing is, we all know about female physiology. It's damn hard to put on muscle. And the truth is, most women won't work hard enough and they won't eat enough to put on a substantial amount of muscle. And that's the truth.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. 100%. Physiology is against us. Mindset is against us. That's probably another reason why men would build muscle quicker than women, because men have an aggressive mentality. They go in the gym and when they do something, they attack it. They have this aggressive, like, I am going to do this. This isn't going to beat me. Whereas a woman very rarely has that mentality, and you have to develop that mentality.
There are a few out there. Oh, absolutely, you have to develop that mentality. And the amount of times that I've said to my girls in the gym, God, would you just please just get aggressive? And you know, you see it come through, and like you start to push buttons. The more you develop a relationship with a client, you know what makes them tick. And you know, I had one chick the other day. This is quite funny. She came to one of my Fox camps, and I know she's got a wedding on the 4th of December, and she's got a bit of work to do. And I was really pushing her, and she's a Brazilian girl, so she's quite feisty, and she stayed quiet for the whole session. And I said, come on, I was giving it to her. And I said, you got a wedding to get to in a couple of weeks. She turns around, she goes, fuck the wedding. And I was like, yes, I've cracked you, finally. And the switch in her was just amazing to see. I was like, you know what? Yes, I've got you. And she worked so much harder after she got angry at me. I wanted her to get annoyed with me. I wanted her to really get fired up, and she did. And to watch her training, then it was awesome. I walked away from that training session. She probably hates me, but that's fine. It's temporary. You know, to walk away from that was just, for me, like, that's what I love doing, is watching girls take things to the next level. And you know what? It's a learned thing, and you can't just walk in a gym and expect to do that. It's a learned thing, and you have to be pushed to do it.
Oh, definitely. I think it's also why females tend to respond to small group training. And
yes.
Like, I've had great experiences recommending CrossFit to females, because they go into an environment where other people are doing the same thing. They're forced to have to go out their comfort zone a bit and do some jumping and some sprinting, and straight away they're empowered by actually that they're actually able, because they don't think they're able to do these things, and they get peer confirmation that everyone else can do it and I can do it. So actually, I'm going to try a bit harder because I can do it. I want to get more out of this.
Exactly. One thing I will say about females and putting on muscle, it's, you know, I've been lifting for 15 years now. Yeah, God, that shows my age, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. So I've been lifting since I was 14 years old, and this is as muscly as I will ever get. And trust me, I've tried very hard to put on muscle, and it is damn hard. The amount of times where I've been lying in bed so sore and can't get up, and I'm thinking, God, my delts must have grown now, or my glutes must have grown by now, and they haven't. They've stayed exactly the same. So the truth is that for women to grow muscle, and I'll just say on a side note here that you can get genetic freaks who, there are some girls out there who put on muscle very quickly, but don't use that as an excuse. Most women are not genetic freaks. The second thing is that it is possible for women to put on muscle. However, certain things have to align. They have to have all of their hormones in place. They have to eat enough, or they have to eat a lot, actually, and they have to train very hard. And I'll come on to sort of my methodology of training women after, but for a woman to put on muscle, she has to do a lot of hypertrophy training, which is very similar to what guys do. Actually, probably they have to train harder than guys because it's much harder to put on muscle. So the truth is, unless a female has been training for at least 5 years, if she comes to me and says, "Oh, I'm getting too big from lifting weights," I will definitely look at their body fat, and that's probably what needs to come down. It's not the fact that they're putting on muscle; they probably just put on fat.
So go on, let's have a beautiful and seamless segue and get your opinion on training women for both. Let's be very black and white about this. What is your kind of templates for both muscle gain and for fat loss? Because this is a question that Nikki Royal asked about training programs and templates. Okay, so with my girls, obviously what I do is build athletic bikini bodies. Of course, I do deal with some girls who are into performance, but to be honest, that's not my area. Like if I've got somebody who wants to enter some form of a powerlifting competition, or because I don't train figure girls, so if somebody wants to do figure, or who is somebody who is a bikini girl who I think is probably better suited to another trainer, I will refer out, and I refer a lot to various coaches around Sydney. Obviously, my coach in particular.
so he's had a lot of success with bikini and figure competitors, and also now strength sports as well. So I do refer to him a lot. So what I do generally, and the type of girls that I attract tend to be high-flying corporate girls who want it all. So they want a banging bikini body. They want to be able to socialize. They have to socialize because of their work. They enjoy drinking red wine, as do I, FYI. They want to be able to eat nice foods. They don't want to have to diet as such. They just want a lifestyle, and they're prepared to work hard for it, but they want the lifestyle. This basically goes out to these sorts of girls. How do I train them? Well, the first couple of weeks we certainly do a general preparation phase. So I do a lot of structural balance with them, and make sure that I call it a dot the I's and cross the T's program, and make sure that I get their glutes working. The glutes is, they certainly switch on. I teach them the very basics of exercise. I certainly teach them how to squat, how to bench. I do various forms of pulling with them. I do a lot of overhead pressing. So we get straight into weight training, immediately. From there, we build on that. I tend to use a lot of circuit training with them. So various different sets, reps, various different protocols. It really does depend on the client. But I tend to do a lot of glute work. So lots of glutes and shoulders. For a bikini body, we want to try and keep the waist as small as possible. Grow the glutes as much as possible, and also the shoulders as well. A lot of girls, even if they don't train, tend to be very quad dominant. The prevalence of anterior hip pain that I see in trained and non-trained athletes is just huge, and it's usually most of the time it's from a lack of glute work, or ineffective glute work. So that tends to be what I do with a lot of my girls. So a typical program for somebody who's been training with me for, say they're coming into week 6, they're probably on their second program. They'd be looking to do probably 2 interval sessions every week, so high intensity interval training. They'd probably be doing one sort of long, slower walk. And then they'd be lifting 3 times a week as well on top of that. So they will be training 6 days a week. But, the walk, it's not exactly hard. It's not really, it's not exactly training. So certainly I expect 5 hard days a week of training by week 6.
Nice. I mean, that sounds like a manageable volume, and you've built up to that. So, absolutely perfect. One little point, you mentioned building up the glutes on girls and stuff. Who doesn't want awesome glutes? I've just prepped Naomi for Miami Pro, which she won.
Yeah.
And
awesome.
The one thing I said to her, I said, if we nail your legs, if we get them looking insane, you'll win the show. Because every show I go to, women can't get the fat off their legs. They haven't got big enough glutes. They're holding on to cellulite in the hamstrings. They haven't got any shape through their calves. And I said, look, legs are being done a minimum of twice a week, and then we're going to do some high intensity interval training focused around the legs to again really try and increase the metabolic activity around that area. And she stole the show. Everyone in the audience just went, awesome. Her legs and glutes are insane.
That's awesome. That's pretty much how I train and how I train my girls. It's all about the booty. Let's not lie. Everyone likes a good ass. I like big butts, and I cannot lie. There you go.
Guilty. Guilty.
I am totally guilty of it. I'm trying to grow mine to the size of a small planet.
I bet your boyfriend hates that. Horrible. We just talked about your rough training template. Would I assume then that is kind of a template for you for both muscle gain and fat loss with a few tweaks? And that diet is doing a lot of the talking when it comes to the changes in fat mass.
Absolutely. That's exactly what exactly what I go for. Nutrition is the key of all of this. And, training is really, of course it's important, but it's, it is really just thing. Nutrition is the most important thing. Training shapes your body, but diet and nutrition is really what's going to get fat off you. And, I'll add as a side note here, for women, your diet isn't only important for fat loss. Your diet is important to look beautiful, to have beautiful skin, hair, to have beautiful nails, to have that shine, that spark, and that X factor. It all comes from your diet. And, I'll refer to Paul Check, I sound Kacheki now, but, he always says, you can't make chicken soup out of chicken shit. And it is so true. Your cell turnover is every 7 days, and you are what you ate 7 days ago. Or, God, is that the exact science? I don't know. Don't quote me on it. God, you have to back yourself with everything you say nowadays. But, that's the truth. So it's not just about being lean and being skinny, or, it's about having that X factor. I'm friends who are, I think, these girls can be size 14, 16 plus, and they are so sexy. Like the way they carry themselves, they're confident. And I tell you what, sexiness comes from being confident and comfortable in your own skin. It doesn't matter what shape, size, creed, or color you are. If you're confident in your own skin, that is what is sexy. I don't care what anybody says, 6-pack or no 6-pack, glutes or no glutes. It's what's, in your head and in your heart that counts.
Oh, definitely. As a guy, if you might be in a bar environment and there's women walking around, you won't necessarily look at the woman that's a size 8. It will be the woman that carries herself, that almost shines. Her skin is radiant. She's kind of got that womanly shape, because we're all, we look at the signs in the opposite sex that describe optimum health, because we are animals really that mate, and we mate with healthy people for the most part. So we are attracted to people that kind of exude that health and healthy endocrine function. So, like, you're spot on. I can't repackage it in a better way.
I was chatting to a fitness model down here earlier today, and she's done a lot of oxygen covers and everything, and we were chatting about this. And she's also a trainer too, and the amount of girls who start to enter bikini shows or start to diet down because they think that they will be happy when they have a 6-pack is just unbelievable, really. To think that that you will be happy when you reach a certain weight on the scales, or you reach a certain percentage body fat, is actually quite ridiculous if you look at it. I mean, the truth is this, that you can get to a stage where you put on a couple of kilos and you feel uncomfortable in your own skin, and as a woman, you'll know where you should be sitting, really. And as long as you sit between those couple of kilos or that percentage body fat or whatever it is, and that's your comfortable benchmark of where you want to sit, then that's fine. If you go on holiday and you have a bit of a blowout, just realize that you're going to have to sacrifice a little bit when you come home. But for girls to say, oh no, I'm only going to be happy when I reach 60 kilos and 10% body fat, I can tell you now, when they reach 60 kilos and 10% body fat, they're not going to be happy. And it is such hard work to get there that it's totally unsustainable to keep a 6-pack year round. A hard 6-pack. I'm not just talking about a flat tummy, because it's quite easy to keep a flat tummy year round. But to have those shredded abs year round, it's not only is it unhealthy for a woman to be that lean, but it's also, it's impossible, and it would drive you mad.
I would actually say, from a guy's perspective, that most guys wouldn't want or find as attractive a female that was very, very lean. Again, because it's not quite as womanly. Like, don't get me wrong, kind of athletic looking, good shape, with the legs and the glutes and stuff. A guy generally, is a generalization, would find that more attractive than someone that was just skinny.
Yeah.
Right.
And when we go to a figure show, like, the only thing I will say there is, if you're at a figure show and you see the female physique and figure girls and the bodybuilders, the condition they get themselves in is insane. And as a past bikini competitor, because I have to say, I'll confess now, I'm never getting on stage again. But I watch these girls, and the amount of effort and the work that has gone into that physique has to be applauded, because it is bloody hard work to get there, and for a woman especially. So hands together for those chicks. They work their asses off to get there, and they look great on stage, and that's their sport, and that's the look they're going for. So good on them.
Yeah, definitely. Right, we've got a load more questions, and I want to
Okay,
try
cool.
and
Fire away.
answer as many as we can to do the
Okay.
people
All right,
justice.
I'll keep it short.
So let's do short and sweet.
Okay, cool.
Yasmin, Ibrahim, I hope that's correct. She says main differences between male and female diet, exercise and supplementation for peak performance and health. Are there any?
Tough question. To be honest, it's down to the individual. Peak performance and health? Not really. If I'm talking about supplementation, my guys and my on pretty much the same things. They're all on a multivitamin, vitamin D, a fish oil, a green, and that's pretty much it. It's like, and a protein powder. If somebody can't tolerate whey, then I'll put them on a plant protein, and I'll add leucine into the mix as well. Guys, I do sometimes put them on creatine. Sometimes they have beta alanine as well. It really depends on their training, and it really depends on the sort of client that I'm training. If I'm training the 50-year-old corporate male, then I'll keep his supplementation plan as small as possible, because he doesn't have time. To the point where I've actually teamed with an organic food delivery company in Sydney, Hexy Food, who've been fantastic, and they just they cook the meals fresh, and they just day to their so wherever they are. So I know what my clients are eating. So and we're talking about very.
Hola y bienvenidos al episodio número 58 del radio de Ben Coomber. Estamos aquí con Ben. Hola, Ben.
Hola!